She left me and I never saw it coming. I see these videos from guys all the time. Well, I'm here to tell you why she left and how you can make sure this never happens to you again. It doesn't involve neglecting women altogether. It involves you pulling your head out of your ass and taking some common sense advice. So let's get into it. Why do women file for 80% of the divorces? Why are women the ones to complain in a relationship? That's what we're going to talk about now. I am going to be linking a video interview that Stephen, Diary of a CEO, did with the Gottman doctors. You may have heard of the Gottman Institute. They're the foremost researchers on couples. They've been married for 37 years and they've done a lot of research on couples, and they can tell by watching a couple interact with something like 90% likelihood if this couple will get divorced. And they started this research, I think, in the 70s or 80s, and a lot of psychiatrists and therapists quote them as these are the 4 death knells of a relationship, the 4 horsemen, okay? Criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. See, it's really easy to keep a relationship together, but if you do these 4 things, you are most likely headed for divorce because these destroy relationships. Let me tell you again, the 4 horsemen. Criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. They also talked in the interview about how couples make bids for connection with each other throughout the day. And it's an opportunity for you to lean in and give that connection, or to completely dismiss your partner. And that's, again, how you're tearing away at the fabric of the relationship, little by little. One thing I got out of this video that I did not know, it's the opposite of what Esther Perel has been teaching us. They did not name Esther Perel by name, but she's the one who famously said, you can have novelty and passion or love and security, that they're opposites, that you have to maintain mystery to have passion, that adventure, passion, sexual excitement are the opposite of love and security and knowing someone. And they actually said in their research they found the opposite, that the more securely attached and trusting people are with each other, the greater their sex life is. And they mention a book they wrote for men about how to make a woman want to have sex with you or something like that. I just ordered it on Amazon. But now let's get into this part. Why women bring up problems in the relationship. Okay? So let's first listen to a clip where Stephen Bartlett talks about how he always just thinks, and a lot of guys who relate to this, everything's just fine. Why is she always bringing up these problems? I thought everything is just fine. So let's listen to him here. Let's listen to him say that.
Women tend to be more unhappily married than men. Guys often think everything's fine.
Oh my God. So true. I had this conversation with a former partner where I said, and I shouldn't have said it, but I'm just going to be honest. I said to her, in our relationship, I think if you never raised an issue, I think there'd never be an issue.
Yeah.
Because I just felt like everything was always fine. And every week she was coming to me with a problem. And had she not come to me with that problem, I think, and I might be BSing myself here, I think the relationship would have just been great.
Right.
That's how it felt.
And
Now, in this next clip, he's going to talk about when his girlfriend brings up issues, they are actually issues that help to improve the relationship. And Julie Gottman talks about why women bring up these issues. And this is why I think women are the ones that file for divorce, because you guys are not listening to us. You guys who go around saying, I was so taken aback, I had no idea this was coming, you're not listening. That's the problem, you guys. Women are bringing it up. And why are women bringing it up? Not because we're like these discontent creatures, but because we're the caretakers of the relationship. Julie Gottman talks about women are raised to nurture, to create connection, to maintain the family unit. And I know when I was married, I definitely felt that. When there was something off with one of the kids or with the relationship, I would bring it up. I would try to heal it. I would try to nurture it. And I'm not a caretaker or codependent. I'm very selfish. I made a video about that the other day. But when I'm with people in a relationship, I feel that responsibility to nurture the relationship and keep the connection. And when I feel the connection is breaking, I will bring it up. And my ex-husband would always be like, well, everything's fine. And he would completely ignore what I said. Completely ignore what I said. Okay? And so for, that kept us from getting closer, but some men are very uncomfortable with the closeness, but they're not listening. They're not listening. And so let's hear this part of the discussion where Julie Gottman says that what I just said.
I think it's harder to be a woman than it is to be a man.
I've sometimes rebutted myself, Julie, when I say what I just said about our relationship would be fine if she never brought issues up. Because when I zoom out and I go, the issues she's brought up, have they made our relationship better? And had she not brought them up, would we have drifted? And I say probably.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? Like, I feel like my partner has always played a role in keeping our relationship close.
She's the caretaker.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah, that totally is a real thing. What we saw in the research is that 80% of the time, women bring up problems in a relationship. 80%, vast majority. And I think it's because, again, women, we talked about how men are raised in society. Well, women are raised in society to nurture, to create connection, to maintain the family unit, right? To create relationship and make sure the relationship is good and solid and secure. So we were raised with feeling that responsibility for the relationship being good. And when we detect something isn't so good, we're going to bring it up.
Now, again, when women bring up issues, or even if the man does, it's important to phrase them in a way of an I statement, I would like. You can't go around being critical. That's just kind of loser and lame status, and it just makes the other person defensive. So it's like, I would like this. I would like more of this, which is what I did in my marriage. And he just didn't want those same things, which is why I ultimately divorced him. Okay? But the important thing is that women must speak up. If they're unhappy in the relationship, they've got to speak up. So the worst thing is women saying nothing or being like very critical or hostile. You cannot be critical or hostile. How you bring up issues is really important, because if we just like blame someone, you never take me out. Well, that's not going to make someone want to take you out. You never pick up your clothes. No one's going to be like, oh yeah, I'm kind of a slob. Thanks for pointing this out. It doesn't work that way. You have to say things in a loving way. I really miss how things used to be. I'd love if we had some date nights. I would really like to have some more date nights with you. How can we make this happen? You have a discussion about it. Women have to express their needs, because a lot of times I think that men can be very happy just like ignoring the woman and the relationship, and then just think they can slide their dicks in us when they're horny. You can't just slide the dick in a woman when she's horny. You've got to keep the kettle burning. You've got to keep positive emotional tension. You've got to give her some attention. You've got to nourish the relationship like a garden. A lot of guys are not doing that. And then when the woman speaks up, they're not listening. But women have to speak up and do it in a loving, constructive way. So we're going to listen to this next clip, and then listen at the end how she says it's hard to hear when people bring something up. When people bring something up, it's hard to hear because we have all these filters about how we hear things and perceive things, and it might get defensive. So, things have to be brought up in a loving way, because if you really want this person to give you something you don't have, like how how, you have to be able to talk to each other in ways like, how can I help you feel more loved? What can I do for you to feel more loved this week? Like, you have to have these kind of like real good discussions. But if we leave it up to men, they're usually not going to bring up any problems in the relationship itself. But if a woman brings up a problem over and over and over and you don't listen, one day she's just going to be done. That's what happened to me. I was so in love with my husband, the last 3 years especially, because I was so horny all the time, and that was building our connection. This was like in my late 40s. And he would ignore my bids for connection. He would ignore. And then one day, when he pushed me away, I just didn't want him anymore. It was just done. And I went to the therapist to find out what happened. And she's like, when someone disregards you, it's like they're fraying of a rug. I have Persian rugs back there. Imagine fraying. And then just that one last thing, it can just even be a little thing. The rug is torn in half and you can't put it back together. When someone's feelings for you die because you've hurt them so much and neglected them over and over and over and been indifferent to them over and over and over, you can't ever bring that back. It's just done. So let's listen to that last clip, and then I'll be back on the other side.
Because I understand, as I said, my relationship wouldn't be as good if my partner didn't bring up issues.
Mm-hmm.
But when she brings up issues, I'm like, why are you bringing up issues? You know what I mean? And it's that having that empathy.
Sure. But again, is she bringing up issues in a way that doesn't feel blaming or critical?
To be honest to her, she is. She's bringing them up pretty well.
Great.
It's the way that I'm kind of interpreting it.
Yeah.
I think is much of the problem.
Well, easy, that happens easily to all of us. Because, we've got this baggage in our background that has created filters in how we hear things, how we perceive things.
So in summary, you guys, when women, we have to speak up when we're unhappy in the relationship. It's our responsibility. Someone has to be the caretaker and the nurturer of the relationship. And the guys have to listen. And guys, when you're like, my woman left me, I had no idea it was coming, that's bullshit. You were not noticing she was unhappy. You were not paying attention to how she felt. You were paying no attention, because a woman doesn't just up and leave you. Before a woman leaves you, she is sad, she's angry, she's disappointed. And if you can't read all those feelings, you were checked out of the relationship, guys. You were fucking checked out. And you didn't give a shit how she felt. That's all I want to say. That's why women file for 80% of the divorces. And if you don't want to get divorced, start listening. Start tuning in. Start reading these books like the Gottman doctors have written, and having these kind of discussions with your partner. What are your dreams? What does this mean to you? Learning how to resolve conflict, learning how to really listen, how to bring things up. It's an art form. Relationships are an art form. And if you're not participating in the art and you're not paying attention, you deserve to be left. A lot of you guys deserve to be left. And I left my husband too over that same thing. But guess what happens after you guys are left? They really pick up and they get their shit together. Because they're like, I'm going to do better on the next one. I will not let this happen again. So you don't have to wait to get left to figure this out. If you don't even know that your woman is unhappy, you got some major work to do before you ever start dating. That's going to wrap up this video. I don't want to hear that bullshit about, I never saw this coming. Well, pull your head out of your ass. Unless you're married to a woman who is completely repressed and doesn't speak, How could you not know that she's unhappy in the relationship? I never saw this coming, so much bullshit. I'm going to call this video, She Left Me and I Never Saw It Coming. I'll tell you why. Because you treated her with contempt, defensiveness, criticism, or stonewalling. You ignored her bids for connection. And when she brought up problems, you fucking tuned it out and didn't give a shit. And when she stopped bringing up problems and she was unhappy, you ignored it. That's why your ass got left. Now, don't give me that bullshit. That's all I want to say.